Okay, and what I imagine now is just everyone leaves. Because I think it's probably the most important thing I've ever done is to actually speak after Arthur Croker. Okay, probably the nicest thing I've ever written is actually the abstract of this talk, so I'm going to read the first sentence. Then I'm going to read a bit more, as indeed I knew would happen. And then I'm going to try to tear myself away from my text, so what you'll see is an incredible anxiety and an incredible loss of ability to think or speak, which is the characteristic of the truly text-bound. You know, chickens, when they can't lay eggs anymore, they just get backed up. And I think, you know, us, not you, but us old folks, are incredibly text-bound, and we cannot actually think without this external hard drive here. So I'm going to try to lose it because I think it's good for me. All right, but I'm going to start with it just so you can watch how painfully incompetent I become as soon as I put the paper down. Because you can't imagine how beautiful the words are here, how well put together, how well constructed the arguments are, how nuanced, and yet what will happen is anybody's guess. So, first sentence only from the abstract because I like it. When all that has been solid melts into code, how do we rethink and remake scholarly praxis, theory, research, and pedagogy built from and for a literate universe? That's my question. Okay, so reading a bit first to get myself kind of into the text here. Digital culture has given us for the first time in human history, don't you love saying that? For the first time in human history? For the first time in human history, I took a bath with, you know, what is that? But seriously, though, for the first time in human history, a master code, a code of all codes capable of representing as computable difference of degree phenomena hitherto necessarily conceived as incommensurably different in kind. The vain pursuit of grand, all-encompassing theories spawned by literacy's false promises of fixed and singular meaning, a staunch and stable truth, universal in its reach, has been eclipsed by the realization of a grand, all-encompassing tool whose unprecedented capabilities for representing knowledge of any and all kinds by means of the one digital code affords us ways of doing transdisciplinary work which today promise instead to bridge qualitative and quantitative methods, human and physical sciences, philosophy, art. Did it work? Yes. But you don't get yet all 4 lines. Mathematics, work and play, leisure and learning, and even I sincerely believe what we've come to understand as body and mind. Although I do realize this session is explicitly dedicated to theorizing, McLuhan, code, digital life, what I really want to do is talk about much more about doing, or what you might, if you were really generous, call design-driven theorizing. This is doing of 2 broad kinds: production, that's to say making stuff, and play, of which more later. So this will be about the doing of transdisciplinary work enabled by code, using some illustrations from a couple of projects I've worked on with Jen Jensen from York and a small team of students from game studies, philosophy, computing, animation, technology studies, graphics. Let me begin by showing you this thing called MAP, a software tool for bridging, well, what we think. I mean, you can tell me later that that's rubbish, but I think in some ways bridges qualitative and quantitative educational research. Then say a few words about the implications of that tool for productively reconceiving conceptions of evidence, and in particular for how we might deconstruct and reconfigure the intellectually and ethically disabling notion of evidence-based research. Next will be a fragment of educational theory, probably really a fragment because I talked too much at the beginning, in the form of a brief discussion of ludic epistemology. And I'll finish by showing you a bit of computer game we completed not long ago, and hopefully there'll be time to actually play it. By then my hands will be shaking so much I won't be able to touch the keys. So the first project I'll draw on is, first thing I'll do is actually find my cursor. Oh, don't you hate it? Don't ever move your hand from the computer. Okay, what happens if I just do this? Excellent. Multimodal analysis program, digital hermeneutics in theory and practice. So the first project I want to talk about to illustrate what the one code offers to transdisciplinarity is a research tool called MAP. It stands for Multimodal Analysis Program. MAP supports multimodally convergent annotations of complex interactions, generating semiotic scores, which show how communicative interaction is orchestrated. Okay, and already I'm just like really bored. But still, I will read more. In the literate past, knowledge was encoded in primarily textual form. I bet you didn't know that. And while it remains a powerful medium, text is everywhere losing its monopoly as the dominant medium of representation, communication, and expression. David Olson, who was the director of the McLuhan Center, remarked some time ago on the ease with which we mistake linguistic fluency for cognitive competence. This is like, in a way, like me and my text. Take this away, there's nothing there. What he said is, we often see as intellectual accomplishment what is in fact merely mastery of a particular form of language. And then I want to go and say something about technological developments, transforming, creating an epistemic shift, and transforming our notions of what counts as knowledge and the evidentiary basis upon which knowledge claims are grounded. So this was not unanticipated. I'm showing you MAP. I'm just going to flip through some stuff while I talk. This is the transitional point at which I become a complete idiot. So McLuhan, whose own work across media modeled a reflexive appreciation of and responsible engagement with theoretical studies of media forms and functions, sought to wake us up from what he described as, quote, the habits of rigid perspective induced by 3 centuries of print hypnosis. Wittgenstein said earlier than that, stuff about the bewitchment of the intellect by language. And I feel actually thoroughly bewitched. Like, I really think this has happened to us and we have become stupefied. And if I don't make the point later, what I think is important to see is that we use language as a tool for keeping ourselves from knowing what we know, from seeing what we really do see, from understanding the things we really do understand, and from preventing other people from seeing those things as well. So we put, it's like when you used to think that the guilds were actually something for, you know, helping people to protect trades and abilities to work and tools and technologies and knowledge. And then you found out that actually the guilds were ways of keeping people that shouldn't be in that profession out of that profession. And that's what I think that literate culture has done, and that what education has done in a way. It's much more about keeping knowledge at bay than it is about embracing what we know and can do. So that's why I think it's evil. And that's why I think that we did MAP. Okay, leaving the text behind and going a little nuts. So MAP, what I think is that, think about Rodney King, or think about, I was going to put something up here similarly. Think about Robert Jacansky. Yeah. So much of the evil that's done in the world is done in full view of everybody, and is sustained by our paying attention to words, and paying attention to text, paying attention to these linear, reductive representations. So what we wanted to do, actually, in developing MAP, because I've seen terrible things happen in classrooms, maybe some of them I've done myself, undoubtedly, but I've certainly seen awful things done, and it always happens without talking. It invariably happens without talking. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to study linguistic, oh, what happened? Hi, oh well, there's something about, what is that about? Oh, change in knowers, and that's from Colin Lancashire, and I'll just move on. Okay. We wanted to, in a way, create a form of a way to transcribe things. I forgot to put my counter on, too. That's really terrible. Then I don't know how long I've gone, and I can't find my cursor. Oh, there it is. I know it's bad, isn't it? Never mind, it'll start now, and you'll tell me I'm way over time. Okay, where we didn't look at what teachers and students were doing in terms of what was being said. But we looked at as if we were animals, as if we were just creatures that we could just observe. Because actually we are animals, and we forget this. So